Today, we're unpacking an absolutely breathtaking narrative in this explainer. We're looking at a journey that is so much more than just a really long hike. It's an epic, sensory-rich travelogue all about the transformative power of untouched, wild nature. We're talking about the ascent to Mount Gandhamadana. Get ready to be totally transported, because our source material paints this incredibly vivid picture of a world that blends grueling physical reality with stunning, almost surreal natural beauty. But, every grand journey has to start with a spark, right? The core motivation driving this massive undertaking isn't about conquest or even just casual exploration. It's actually deeply personal. Yudhishthira, after 5 long years apart, is just desperate to reunite with his brother, Arjuna. Arjuna's been away mastering military science, and it's this profound emotional hook, a brother's deep longing, that propels the entire group forward into the treacherous unknown. And let me tell you, the sheer scale of this journey is absolutely staggering. We're starting with 5 whole years of waiting. Then, once they finally set off, it takes them 17 exhausting days just to reach the sacred slopes of the Himalayas. They're so beat, they have to rest for 7 nights straight to recover. And even after all that, it's another 4 full days of pushing onward just to reach Sweta Mountain. So this completely transforms what could be a simple travel story into a grueling, day-by-day survival quest. Let's dive right into Section 1, Into the Wild, the treacherous path north. Before they ever saw anything magical, they had to face some incredibly harsh physical realities. And you might be wondering, who exactly is braving this path? Well, it's quite the eclectic traveling party. You've got the steadfast Pandava brothers and Draupadi, plus an escort of Brahmanas. But here's the thing. To survive this landscape, mortal resilience just wasn't going to cut it. They were actually escorted by Rakshasa followers. These are supernatural beings acting as heavy-lifting porters and guards. Oh, and they also had the mighty sage Lomasa along to provide some vital spiritual guidance. They literally had to rely on this unique mix of human determination and supernatural muscle just to keep moving. Because the earthly realm they had to navigate first was completely unforgiving. They were heading north, often totally on foot, pushing through these incredibly dense, overgrown lands. And this wasn't some empty wilderness either. It was teeming with apex predators. We're talking lions, tigers, and wild, dangerous elephants. It was a seriously perilous, hostile environment that tested their absolute limits every single step of the way. Eventually, though, they do reach a vital pit stop, the hermitage of sage Vrishaparva. After surviving those predator-filled forests, they arrive utterly exhausted and have to spend 7 nights recovering. But the most important part of this stop is actually what they leave behind. They entrust their remaining earthly robes, their sacrificial vessels, and all their jewels to the sage. So they are physically and metaphorically shedding their earthly baggage. They're dropping their wealth to prepare themselves for the pure, divine landscape that lies ahead. Which brings us to Section 2, Crossing the Threshold, the Enchanted Forest. Having left those earthly ties behind, they push further north, past the golden gem-composed Sweta Mountain, right toward their final destination. The really crucial point here is the exact moment of transition. After days of traversing these awful, inaccessible rocks and caves, they finally lay eyes on Mount Gandhamadana. The text literally describes them with their hair standing on end from awe. The sheer, sudden, overwhelming majesty of this landscape causes a physical reaction. They are frozen, completely awestruck by what's standing right in front of them. And they quickly realize they are no way, no how in the mortal world anymore. Gandhamadana is the abode of entirely different creatures. So instead of regular lions and tigers, this mountain is ranged by Kimpurushas, Vijayatis, and Kinnaris. Now these are celestial musicians, spirits of wisdom, and mythical beings. Seeing them is a crystal clear signal to our travelers, and to us reading this, that they have officially stepped out of a normal ecosystem and crossed the threshold into the divine realm. Moving on to Section 3, a symphony of senses, flora, and fauna. The source text shifts beautifully here. It almost becomes this awestruck nature documentary detailing an absolute explosion of biodiversity. And the text doesn't just give us some dry list of plants. It brings the flora to life through these intense, romantic metaphors. Like, look at the karnakars, blooming like exquisite golden earrings, or the tilakas appearing like beauty spots painted right onto the forest's forehead. Even the mango trees, swarmed by black bees, are described as Cupid's shafts. The landscape itself is portrayed as passionately, breathtakingly alive. And the auditory experience, just as overwhelming. I mean, imagine the sounds. You have sweet singing chokoras and woodpeckers, the hum of intoxicated black bees hovering over lotus lakes, and brightly colored scarlet jivajivakas. But okay, the absolute most incredible detail has to be the peacocks. The text describes these forest-loving peacocks actually becoming excited by the cloud trumpets of thunder. They use the very storms of the mountain as their cue to begin dancing. Now that is a dramatic entrance. I want to pause on this one specific, absolutely stunning visual detail for a second. Imagine looking up and seeing peacocks sitting on the branches of the kutaja trees, spreading their gorgeous tails out so perfectly that they look exactly like crowns worn by the trees themselves. It just grounds us right in the middle of the sensory overload the Pandavas were experiencing. Everywhere they looked, nature was putting on a literal royal display. And that leads us right into Section 4, the Celestial Summit, a hero's awe. As they penetrate deeper and deeper into this forest, fanned by balmy, perfumed breezes, we reach the true emotional climax of the journey. Yudhishthira is so entirely overcome by the beauty that he bursts into this joyful monologue to his brother. "Ah, Bhima, how beautiful is this forest," he says. Notice how the exhaustion, the years of exile, the sheer terror of the lower forests, it's all completely washed away. He recognizes that simply by existing in this space, by witnessing this untouched beauty, their minds have been elevated to an extraordinary, blessed state. Their environment has completely transformed. Think about it. At the start of the trek, they were dodging normal, deadly lions and tigers in dense, dark woods. Now, Yudhishthira points out elephants with 4 tusks, which honestly sounds like a nightmare for the elephant's dentist, calmly bathing in massive lakes that are the vibrant color of lapis lazuli. The contrast is literally night and day. The ordinary danger has been replaced by this utterly surreal, magical peace. Even the rocks beneath their feet are a masterpiece. Yudhishthira excitedly points out the brightly colored minerals decorating the mountain cliffs. The silver is radiant as the sun, the red arsenic glows like evening clouds, and the yellow orpiment shines like the rising sun itself. The entire mountain summit is painted in these effulgent, glowing colors. It makes the very earth they walk on feel completely alive with light. Finally, wrapped up in this state of pure delight and wonder, they reach their intended destination on the mountain, the hermitage of the royal sage Arshtishena. But what's fascinating is the striking contrast right at the end here. Surrounded by the most luscious, abundant, fruit-bearing forest imaginable, they find a sage who is physically emaciated. His muscles are visible from his rigid austerities and intense spiritual focus. And this leaves us with an incredibly provocative question to consider as we wrap up this explainer. Why did the Pandavas have to go through this specific journey? How does a grueling physical trek, followed by a total immersion in the awe-inspiring, sensory-overloading beauty of untouched nature, act as the ultimate preparation for the human mind to actually grasp true spiritual wisdom? It really seems that only by exhausting the body and overwhelming the senses with natural wonder can the mind truly open up to the divine. Think about that the next time you step out into the wild. Thanks for joining me, and keep exploring.